Participants at this year's Science Online conference include 9 students from Staten Island Academy in New York, and they are part of they are studying a class called Extreme Biology. They work on their own blog, and they moderated a session. The session was titled Science Education Needs You. Can you tell me about the session and how it went?
Our session was mostly on how students view and use the internet for science in classrooms and in general science.
I thought it went pretty well. People asked good questions. They were actually curious about ways that we were using the internet and how we could become interested in science, and that's what's important.
We hit on all of the major ways of communicating in the education field of science, and like blogs, vlogs, wikis, etc.
It's really for people, mainly teachers and scientists, to pick out our mind and really get at what we would like to see in classrooms for science.
Well, great. What are some of those things that you'd like to see?
I was saying a section of how I always like seeing little games or quizzes. Things that have instant gratification are the easiest ways to learn something that when you learn it and then you have to apply it, that's the most important way to get it into your mind. So I like the games.
What I was discussing was vlogs, which I think are very useful. It's a very easy way to see what people are doing. It's an easy way to share information, and but I like to see in classrooms Tumblr being used. Tumblr is just basically a personal blog, and you can personalize it. You can post videos, regular text posts, or you can post sound, songs or whatever it may be. So it was a wide variety of uses. It'd be really great to have in the classroom because it's really interactive. You can have your own followers like Twitter. It has a feed like Facebook, and it's just a great incorporation of everything together.
And I would personally like to see science education become more pertinent to our language and in some sort of adolescent language, and not always be regarded as something that's so horribly complicated and complex to understand and grasp.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Are there some ways that you think science education can be improved, or using the internet made better than what it is now?
Oh, definitely. I think that students should really have more opportunities to meet professionals, to really get to know some people, really keep in contact with people, ask as many questions as they need. That's a great way to really to learn this topic in the most detail as possible.
Beyond that, also, the internet is the perfect place for collaboration, being that you can talk with someone in an instant as long as they're online. So it's become one of those things that you can use to develop something to a certain point that you couldn't before. So it's always great to have the internet.
I think that among everything else, the internet really allows you to connect with the world as it is the World Wide Web, and it allows your ideas to be further clarified or, expounded upon, because you have such a great variety of resources.
There's the blog. It's called extremebiology.net.
Mm-hmm.
Can each of you tell me about one thing that you've worked on it, or that you admire about it, and how that came about?
Well, it's always been Miss Baker's project to have students do a blog post when they're in her class, and those are the posts that go up. People can comment on the post, have the writers of the post respond to it. And when I was in the class, I made a post about how video games can increase brain activity, and I had done research on it. I talked to an expert in the field of brain plasticity, and I went through all these different steps learning about what was important to me, which was finding out how games can be good for you.
Last year when I did that same project, my post was on marine biology, recent discoveries, in a broad spectrum. It was and I focused on a couple of specific species, as well as a general of what is marine biology, and I interviewed Kevin Zelnio, who was at the conference, and he gave me some great insight about different things. I talked about a good example of what I talked about would be I talked about the great white shark, and I quoted the movie Jaws, so that was good. Also, something that the extreme biology used besides the blog was we had our own wiki pages, so we can customize those. We can put whatever we wanted on those, and we had our own the introduction to our blogs, the post that we wrote. Were on the wiki pages, so people who would go on the wiki pages could see our like an introduction before we actually had the post up.
I was never able to really do much on extreme biology because I missed it by a year. But something I admire about it is that in our school it gives students the opportunity to have some place where they can publish their ideas and some sort of outlet from school that they can write and post it, and it gives them that free opportunity.